Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so thrilled you're joining me because we're about to take a science-backed deep dive into a daily habit that is honestly completely misunderstood by so many people. We are going to look strictly at the biological facts from our source material to map out exactly what happens to your body when you adopt a daily egg habit. It's fascinating stuff, so let's just dive right into it. So, here's the big question we're answering today. What actually happens to your belly fat if you eat 3 to 4 eggs every single day for a week, a month, or even an entire year? And I'm not just talking about the soft fat you can pinch. We're talking about the hidden, dangerous fat deep inside your body that does silent damage over time. The answer is probably going to shock you because eggs have this incredible, almost hidden power to accelerate fat loss in ways most people simply aren't aware of. To make this super easy to digest, we're going to follow a biological timeline today. We'll track days 1 to 3, where your hunger drops, weeks 1 and 2, where the fat really starts burning, and months 3 to 6, where you get into full-blown body recomp. All right, let's start the clock. Phase 1, the first few days, silencing the inner voice. Right off the bat, within just the first few days of starting this habit, your hunger fundamentally changes, and it's all thanks to a hormone called ghrelin. You can kind of think of ghrelin as this tiny, demanding voice inside your head that constantly urges you to go open the pantry even when you don't actually need food. It is your primary hunger hormone. Now, what's really amazing here is that eggs suppress this ghrelin voice way more powerfully and for much longer than almost any other standard breakfast food out there. But it doesn't stop there. As that ghrelin drops, eggs simultaneously activate two key satiety hormones, PYY and GLP-1. Now, if GLP-1 sounds familiar to you, it's probably because that is the exact same hormone targeted by those wildly expensive lab-made weight loss drugs like Ozempic. But the difference here? You are getting a natural GLP-1 boost for literally pennies a day. Your hunger signals plummet, and your fullness signals absolutely skyrocket. So, what does this hormonal shift actually do to your day-to-day life? Well, studies show this causes people to naturally consume about 400 fewer calories for the rest of the day. And that's without counting calories. Without starving, it just happens effortlessly. Even wilder, research shows this appetite-suppressing effect can last up to 36 hours. So your Monday morning egg breakfast is literally still working for you on Tuesday. In just 1 week, this natural calorie deficit can lead to losing about 500 grams of actual physical body fat. Moving right along to phase 2, weeks 1 and 2, the fat-burning doors open. The real star of this phase is insulin, which is basically the ultimate gatekeeper of your body fat. Whole eggs contain barely 1 gram of carbohydrates total. So when you replace carb-heavy breakfasts, the standard cereal, toast, or fruit juice, with eggs, your insulin stays incredibly low and stable for hours. When insulin spikes, your body immediately locks away fat in storage mode. But when it's kept low, those doors unlock and your body is finally free to burn its stored fat for fuel. And to really put that into perspective, check out this absolutely wild 8-week study. Researchers took 2 groups and gave them the exact same number of calories, same calorie deficit, same everything. One group ate eggs for breakfast and the other ate a bagel. Well, the egg group lost 65% more weight and saw a 30% greater reduction in their waist size. Same exact calories, but totally different metabolic results simply because of how the food on their plate affected their hormones. Which brings us to section 3, the secret fat burner and the 2 belly fats. There is a nutrient doing some serious heavy lifting here that most people have never even heard of, and it's called choline. Your liver desperately needs choline to package up fat and ship it out of the body so it can be burned. Without it, fat literally gets trapped, which can lead to fatty liver disease. Luckily for us, eggs are nature's most concentrated source of this stuff. 4 eggs yield roughly 590 milligrams of choline, but here's the catch. Almost all of it is in the yolk. So if you're only eating egg whites, you're throwing away your liver's fat-packing MVP. Let's look at how this builds into real-world results. Remember how we talked about the 2 types of belly fat? You've got the subcutaneous fat right under the skin, and then the visceral fat, which deeply wraps around your organs and drives metabolic disease. Well, a University of Alabama study on older adults found that those eating at least 3 eggs daily for 8 weeks saw a massive 22.8% reduction in that dangerous visceral fat. The control group? They only lost 1%. That is an over 20-fold difference in burning the absolute most dangerous fat in the human body. All right, let's look at the long game. Section 4. Months 3 to 6, muscle, hormones, and recomp. Now, for the men watching, this stat from the research is just staggering. The cholesterol found in the egg yolk is a direct building block that the male body uses to synthesize testosterone. A 12-week study comparing men who ate whole eggs versus guys who got the exact same amount of protein from just egg whites showed that the whole egg group had a 250% greater increase in their testosterone levels. And of course, that comes with major strength gains and a huge drop in body fat percentage.
So over months 3 to 6, eggs help you achieve what dietitians call body recomposition, which is the holy grail of losing fat while simultaneously building muscle. This happens because eggs are super rich in leucine, a crucial amino acid that basically flips the switch for muscle protein synthesis. In fact, eating whole eggs triggers a 40% greater muscle building response than eating egg whites alone. And by building and keeping that muscle, you're actually boosting your resting metabolism, which means you're burning more calories 24 hours a day, even while you're fast asleep.
Let's get practical now. Section 5, the masterclass, how to eat and buy them.
First up, believe it or not, how you cook them actually really matters. Raw egg whites contain a protein called avidin, which blocks absorption. If you drink raw eggs like Rocky, you're only absorbing about 51% of the protein. But when you cook the whites fully, that absorption skyrockets to over 90%. The yolk, however, is the exact opposite. You want to keep the yolks soft, like in a poached egg or sunny side up. Cooking yolks at a high heat for too long degrades the omega-3s, the choline, and the vitamins, and it can actually create harmful oxidized cholesterol. Oh, and a quick reality check here. You have to completely replace your carb breakfast with these 3 to 4 eggs. Don't just add them on top of a giant bowl of cereal.
Next time you're standing in the supermarket aisle, keep these categories in mind. The nutritional quality of the egg is entirely dependent on how that chicken lived. Caged, cage-free, and most free-range eggs come from grain-fed chickens and have the lowest nutrient density, though hey, they're still way better than eating cereal. Organic ensures there are no pesticides or antibiotics, but the absolute gold standard here is pasture-raised. These chickens actually forage outside for their natural diet of bugs and seeds. The result? Up to 4 times the omega-3s, 4 times the vitamin D, 3 times the vitamin E, and a brilliantly deep orange yolk. Always look for that third-party animal welfare certification right on the carton. Finally, let's clear the air on the biggest myth. Section 6, the cholesterol truth. Look, for decades, we were all told that eating cholesterol directly raises your blood cholesterol, right? But modern science found something totally incredible. Roughly 80% of the cholesterol in your blood is actually manufactured directly by your own liver. When you eat dietary cholesterol from eggs, your liver simply downregulates. It just produces less of its own to maintain a perfect, healthy balance. Your body is incredibly smart. For about 70% of people, eating eggs doesn't alter blood cholesterol at all. Now, for the 30% who are considered hyperresponders, eggs might raise LDL, but they only increase the large, fluffy, entirely harmless LDL particles. The real villains driving heart disease are ultra-processed foods, poor-quality frying oils, and the small, dense, oxidizing LDL particles that those foods create. The evidence is so overwhelming on this now that major global health organizations have officially dropped those strict dietary cholesterol limits from their guidelines. So, we've just mapped out the exact biological timeline today, from silencing your hunger hormones in mere days, to unlocking insulin and shedding visceral fat in weeks, to literally rebuilding your muscle tissue over months. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Now that you know the actual science, what are you going to replace your morning carbs with tomorrow? I really hope this explainer has empowered you with the facts you need. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I highly recommend exploring our other explainers on metabolism and nutrition to keep this awesome momentum going. See you next time.